Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name's Rachel and this is Stitched Up. So yeah, thank you all for joining me again today. I'm a little bit late getting this vlog out to you, but I've been feeling quite under the weather for the last week. Started with a bit of a viral bug last Monday, sore throat, full of cold, congested, that kind of thing, and it really took hold over the course of the week, so I was feeling really unwell. However, I have managed to film a vlog introducing you to my new cover stitch machine. Now, I am so excited to show you this, guys. Yeah, I decided that enough was enough. I really wanted to get myself a cover stitch. I've got so much jersey fabric that I want to get sewn up, and yeah, I'm sick and tired of using a twin needle on my sewing machine, because as great as it is, it's just a bit more time consuming swapping everything over and whatnot. So I have bought myself a cover stitch machine and I wanted to share that with you. I did put a little sneaky peek on Instagram last week, but yeah, I decided that it was a good opportunity to get it out of the box, have a little play, and yeah, see what you guys think. I don't know if many of you have a cover stitch machine or whether you are thinking of getting one, but yeah, I thought you might be interested to have a look. Now, what I will say is what I decided to do was, on top of introducing you to the machine and giving you a little tour of its main features and then, yeah, that kind of thing, I thought it might be nice to sort of sew up a first garment on it as well. And on the box, when the machine came, was this jumper, and one of the lovely ladies on Instagram that follows me actually messaged me because she thought I'd made the top, and it was the picture I'd taken was of me in the top, and she wanted me to let her know which pattern it was, etc. Well, it turns out that the pattern is a free pattern that is on the Bernette site. Yeah, I got the Bernette B42 cover stitch machine, and yeah, so I thought, well, you know what, I might have a little go at making it, and this is what I'm wearing tonight. So this is a one shoulder top, and it's a bit strange, I'll be honest, but you know, it was a good way to sort of have a little practice. I've used some lemon ponte that I got from Colville Fabrics. It's got little armbands, it's 3/4 sleeve, one there, a nice deep waistband as well, and then it's got this one shoulder effect as well. It's a bit sort of origami-ish if you look. Oh, we've just gone out of focus there. I'll just wait for it to come back in focus. Yeah, so it's a bit sort of origami-ish. But yeah, what I thought I would do is, I have filmed a bit of a tutorial on how to make this, and yeah, you can watch along with me. Now, one thing that I will just mention is that the camera on the first part of the vlog that you're going to see is a little bit shaky in parts. I am so sorry about that. I hope it doesn't give you all a headache. But yeah, I was feeling very under the weather when I was filming it. I don't know if you'll be able to tell in my voice, but there's certainly no pictures of me in the vlog further on, because I looked terrible on the day that I actually filmed this. So I'm a little bit croaky now still. However, yeah, so please forgive me for some shakiness that's still in this video. But I hope you enjoy it anyway, and if you want to ask me any questions, please do. If resources for cover stitch, what I would say is I have also bought the book by Joanna Lou. I'll put a little picture in here. If you don't know Joanna, I would suggest you go and seek out her channel, because she is absolutely amazing. Her channel is called The Last Stitch, and she is Swedish, but her English is impeccable. It's better than mine, and she has been sewing since she was a little girl, and she's just, her knowledge and her skill is absolutely incredible. So she's very well worth going and having a look at some of the stuff that she's done. But she's a bit of a pro on the cover stitch machine now, and she's self-published her own book. I've bought that from Amazon. I will leave the link down below if you want to go check it out. But we can have a look at that probably at a later date. I've only had a quick flick through at the minute, so I can't give you great comments on it as such, but yeah, definitely worth checking her out because she's really, really good. So without further ado, I will leave you to watch the rest of the vlog. Yes, if you want to leave me any comments or ask me any questions, then please do. Thank you for all your comments on my last video. I'm sorry that I haven't answered any. I don't even know if I've done the little likes on any of the comments, but I have read every single one. As I say, I was so poorly last week, I didn't have much energy to do anything, so but I have read them all, so thank you again for all your love as always. So yeah, go ahead and watch the video and I'll see you at the end. Right, so here is the Bernette B42 funlock cover stitch machine, and yeah, it's a 4-thread cover lock. So you have 3 needles that are all easily identified and the looper. Now you can take out or put in the needles if you just want 2 or 3 threads. It's entirely up to you. You have that option. These are tension discs. Sorry, they're the actual tension discs, but these are the tension dials, so you can increase or decrease the tension of each of the threads. At the left hand side here, this is the presser foot pressure dial. So from reading the manual, you alter that dependent on what type of fabric you're using. So I'm assuming if you are using lightweight knits, you'd probably want a little bit more pressure than the heavier, thicker knits. You have your differential feed here, which obviously you adjust to, again, your fabric choice, which will adjust how tightly or slackly the fabric is pulled through the plate and the presser foot. So if you increase it, you get sort of like a gathering effect, and decrease it, it slackens it off, if that makes sense. Over on this side, you have the stitch length, which again, with finer fabrics, you tend to have it on a smaller stitch length, and thicker fabrics on a wider stitch length. And this one is just the hand wheel for the needle up down. The pressure foot lever is actually at the back here, and it's a bit weird, is this one, because you actually when you flick it down, that lifts the presser foot up, and when you flick it back, that lowers it, which is the opposite way to all of my other machines. You've got obviously the needle plate here. I don't know if you can see that there. There are these, it has a little Allen key with it that allows you to insert and take out the needles. I've just got 2 needles in at the minute. Now, to get to the looper, obviously unlike an overlocker, you only have 1 looper. You just slide this across and pull it down. I don't know how much you're going to be able to see in here at the minute, because it's quite dark actually, but in the front here you have a few little tools. So you've got the little Allen key here for the needle holder. You've also got a little brush here, and this little device here is to be able to help you insert needles, and you've got some spare needles here. Now, one thing it does say in the manual is that you can't use normal needles on this cover stitch, and you have to get specific cover stitch needles. I've never heard of that before. Can anybody tell me if that's true and where you get them? I just assumed, because these are flat backed needles, but it does say you'll damage your machine if you use normal sewing machine needles. So if somebody can just point me in the right direction of where you actually get these needles from, if you can't use normal ones, then that would be great. Yeah, so the way you thread this is basically you start with the looper and then you work backwards. So you do the right hand needle, the middle needle, and then the left hand needle. The needles are very, very easy to thread. They are literally, you take it through the tension disc, down here, across here, through this bit here, can't remember what that's called. Oh, before you get there, there are like 3 little gaps there. I don't know if you can see them. The right hand needle goes in the one furthest away before it goes up through this bit, and then it slides into that right hand bit there, and then you literally thread it through the right hand needle. The middle one goes into the middle bit and the middle bit there, and then the left hand one goes into the front one and the left hand side there. And the threads don't go behind this little bit, this sit in front, so that's worth knowing as well. But yeah, the looper one you thread first, and essentially you thread it through the tension disc there down here, and then you take it behind there, you insert it down through that hole. Oh, you also get a pair of tweezers, forgot to mention that, tweezers that are in this bit here as well. Yeah, so you thread it down through that hole, and then it goes through from right to left through there, right to left through there. And if I just bring that out, you then have to take it through that bit there. I don't know if you're going to see that at all, but there's another bit there. Hang on a sec. What I've done is I've actually got my phone, the light on my phone to shine in to try and show you. But yeah, there's another sort of little thing there where you insert the thread up through, and that's where you'll need your tweezers to pull it through. And then the thread, you actually put it through the little hole there, which is very much like, I don't even know what this bit's called, but it's very much like what's on an overlocker. And then what you have to do is, there is a little lever which is just, if I can get to it, just in there. Can you see that lever there? And once the thread is threaded through this bit here, you basically pull this lever towards you, and it takes the thread all the way round in there. Because when I first opened this, I'll be honest, I looked at it and thought, how on earth are you supposed to get the thread right in there? Because none of those bits of machinery, or whatever you want to call them, actually come out from under the needle plate. That's as far out as they come. So it's a little bit awkward to start with, but to be honest, once you've done it a couple of times, it's fairly straightforward. So I threaded it, and I'll be honest, once I'd done it, it worked perfect first time. The only other thing I would say on first glance of this machine is that I don't like the light. This is as much, I mean, I'm using this during good daylight at the minute, and yeah, the light on this I don't think is great. So I don't know what it would be like in a darkened room at night. I don't know whether I'd need additional light, but yeah, compared to the light on my sewing machine and my overlocker, I don't think the light on this is brilliant. Yeah, so that's it at first glance. What else can I tell you, really? You get a few other bits and pieces with it. Obviously, you get an instruction manual. You get a cover for it, which is just a little plastic thing here. I've not even opened that yet. You get this little box of delights, which has spool nets and caps. These are for, obviously, if you just use the little normal cotton reels that you use generally on a sewing machine. There's obviously a little screwdriver, as there always is. Yeah, so on first glance, yeah. It's also got a little diagram there that is supposed to be a quick threading guide, but yeah, I would say it's easier to thread than it is an overlocker if you've got an overlocker. So on first glance, I'm quite impressed. But yeah, the needle thing is a bit strange, so let me know about that. The manual is here. We're going to be making this top soon so that we can have a little go at cover stitching and see what it looks like. Yeah, the only thing it does say in here is when it's telling you how to sort of tie off, because obviously there's no sort of back stitching on a cover stitch like there is on a sewing machine, so you can't secure your stitches, so you have to secure your stitches in a certain way, and the way that it shows you on YouTube is completely different to what it tells you in the book. So I'm going to show you that when we do some cover stitching in a little while anyway, as to how it shows you on YouTube, because it's much easier than trying to understand what it's trying to tell you in the little manual. So yeah, that's my new cover stitch. So what we're going to do, is, as I say, is we are going to have a little go at making this top. One of my followers on Instagram actually messaged me, I think it was yesterday, to say she thought that this top was actually what I'd already made, because she saw the picture that I put up on Instagram of the cover stitch in the box when it arrived a couple of days ago, and she thought it was actually a picture of me of something I'd made on it already, and she wanted to see it, but unfortunately no, it was just the box. But I did actually find that Bernette have produced a pattern and instructions for this top, and there is a little YouTube video to go with it as well. So I thought it'd be fun to have a go as an easy first project to get used to using it, so we're going to do that now. Okay, so we're going to be making this top here, which is the top that's on the box that I got for my cover stitch machine, the Bernette B42. And yeah, as soon as I saw that, I thought, oh, I'd like to make that. And when I had a look in at a couple of YouTube videos that Bernette have produced to accompany the B42, this is actually a free pattern. So I've printed off the PDF and the instructions. The instructions are here, and we're going to sew this together and see what it looks like. Now, in my stash, I've got some really lovely lemon ponte. I thought I quite liked the yellow, but yellow can be a bit bright, but this is a really nice pastel ponte that I had in my stash that I got from Mark at Colville Fabrics. And yeah, you print off the PDF, which I have stuck together. So the PDF is here. It has gone together fairly well. Sometimes I think these free patterns, the PDFs aren't that brilliant and don't stick together that well, but this has, to be honest, stuck together fairly well. But all you get is just one pattern piece. So I don't know if you can see that very well, but it's just one big pattern piece there with the test square in the corner. It's got the sizing guide here, which is size S up to XL. And then here we have the gauge for what size covers what. So I am going to go for a size medium, which according to the size chart here, the size 40 is a 36, which is my full bust. So yeah, I'm going to go for the size medium. So that's obviously the second line, so I'm going to cut that out. Now in the instructions, if I just bring those closer, it does tell you that you need one front and back piece cut on the fold, so it's just one piece. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, one waistband, and then the waistband, because this is obviously a European pattern, the waistband is in centimetres, so I've gone for the second one, which is size medium. I have converted that to inches just because I've used my quilting ruler to measure with to make sure that it's completely square, and yeah, those measurements turn out to be that. And then the two sleeve cuff pieces that you need, again, I've converted it to inches for the size medium, which is that as well. So I have just used some of my tracing paper to cut out the sleeve cuff piece, which is the correct size, and also the waistband piece, which is there. Again, that's the only thing with free patterns, that sometimes you do have to use the measurements to cut out your own additional little pieces. But I'm going to get this pattern piece, the big pattern piece, cut out now, and then we'll get it on the fabric and get it cut out. So it's always a good idea to read your instructions carefully before you do any cutting or placing pattern pieces on your fabric. And this pattern, because it's an unusual shape, I've cut this out now, as you can see. In the previous clip you saw that this pattern piece, because it's printed sort of that way up with all the writing there, but if you look, that's the piece that goes on the fold, and here is the grain line. And when you look at the instructions, it actually needs to be this way. So that's going to be the side of it. Yeah, I'm still not quite sure how this is all going to fit together, but yeah, when we look at the instructions here, you can see that it is actually this edge here that goes on the fold of the fabric. So the reason I've wanted to look at this is because it doesn't tell you in the instructions how what height that this pattern is made for. Now, Bernette is a Swiss company. Swiss people, do they tend to be tall? I don't know, I've no idea, but anyway, I am going to lengthen this by probably 1 inch. So I want to look at, because there's no shorten or lengthen lines on here, I wanted to look at whereabouts I am going to lengthen this pattern. And obviously when you are lengthening patterns, you don't want to be disturbing any of the style lines. So all of these sort of curvy bits need to still be absolutely where they are already. So I think I'm going to use this edge of the paper here from the PDF paper pieces that I've stuck together. I'm going to use that bit there as my lengthen line. So I'm going to cut the pattern across there and add in 1 inch just to drop it a little bit so that it ends up long enough for me. I do think this pattern, when you look at the design, if you look closely here, it's designed to sort of not sit on your high waist anyway. It's designed to be sort of hip length, I think. So I'm definitely going to add in a good inch around that area there. So that's just something to bear in mind if you are quite tall like me. Right, so one thing to bear in mind is because of the size of this pattern piece, and you can just see there where I've put that extra inch to lengthen the pattern piece in. Yeah, one thing to bear in mind because of the width of this pattern piece is that this fabric is 60 inches wide, and obviously you have to cut this pattern piece on the fold. Now the selvage is actually along there, but what I found was when I folded the fabric it wasn't wide enough to fit this pattern piece on. I think it was probably about there. So I've actually had to turn the ponte round the other way and fold it that way rather than that way, if that makes sense, so that the selvage is at the top. So that's just something to bear in mind if you are going to make this yourself, and if you're going to use a fabric that's printed, you'll want to make sure that you use something that's not directional. So that you can actually, otherwise you're going to end up with the print, if the print is running parallel to the selvage, you're going to end up with a print that's sort of at a 90-degree angle to the top, which isn't going to look right. And also the stretch of your fabric as well. It doesn't give any recommendations in the pattern instructions as to what fabric to use. So, you know, there's that to bear in mind as well. You want to make sure that it's got enough stretch, because you're working totally cross grain. So I've put that pattern piece on the fold there with the selvage now at the top and the bottom, and then the waistband piece is here. I've actually put that on the fold as well, so we only need 1 waistband piece, so as it's just a big rectangle, I've just folded that in half and put that there, and the cuffs that we need 2 of are going to be there. So I'm going to get those cut out now. Right, so before I actually cut this piece out, I'm just looking at the instructions again. It does actually tell you on here that you need to cut it out, cut the fabric on the fold perpendicular to the selvage edge and the grain line. And I just wanted to look at seam allowances as well. Now, as usual with a lot of European patterns, it says seam allowances are not included. So that obviously needs to be added on to my fabric pieces. So I just need to bear that in mind. I'm going to add on probably my usual 5/8 of an inch all the way around the edges before I cut it out. Right then, so before we begin sewing, we need to transfer the markings to the main pattern piece. Now there's only one sort of marking here, and what you need to do is you need to just cut down the seam allowance for the size that you are making, and then we are going to turn over the neckline and sew all the way around the neckline. So the instructions tell us to fold the neckline under by 2 centimetres, starting and stopping at the mark indicating the neckline, and then press Right, so all I've done is turn the pattern piece around, so that's the fold line there. We've got the little mark at the top there, and then we're going to open it out, and then we are going to turn over where the mark is, up in the corner there, like so, and then pin it all the way along. The other side, so then we're just going to sew all along there. Right, so we're going to have a little practice. Now I've got my cover stitch set up with just the 3-thread cover stitch. So I've removed the right hand needle and I've just got the 2 left needles and the looper threaded. So we're just going to have a little practice. Now, what I've read about tying off is make sure your needles are fully up, lift up the presser foot, lift the presser foot forward and pull the threads through, cut those off, if I could just show you that, like so, because we need to make sure that the threads go underneath, which they have done. Look at that! So I'm quite happy with that. So we're going to now have a go at stitching the neckline of the waterfall jumper using my cover stitch for the first time. There we go, so there's the neckline cover stitched. Right, so now we've stitched the top of the neckline. You might find that you've got a few, you know, sort of like a bit of a rough edge underneath the cover stitching there, so you can trim that off. You're supposed to use applique scissors, you know, the ones that look like a duckbill. I haven't got any, although I have just ordered some from Amazon, so hopefully they'll be here tomorrow. So I'm just going to get rid of sort of the big bits there with just some normal scissors. We're now going to, here's the top of the neckline that we've just stitched, we're now going to fold it over back on itself so your right sides are together, and we're going to pin that seam. And then all I'm going to do is take that up to the overlocker and overlock that edge. Right, so I've overlocked the shoulder seam edge, and if you can see, I've kept the overlocking in dark thread just so that you can see better, but I've just overlocked where the reverse side of the cover stitching is, just to make sure that that's totally secure. From the right side, you're not going to be able to see it. So next, the instructions tell us to stitch the long and short side seams together. So the long side seam is this one here, and then the short side seam is this bit here. Okay, so we're going to pin those together and then overlock them. Right, so next we're going to deal with the cuffs and the waistband. So I've got the waistband piece here, I've put right sides together, and we're going to sew along this short edge there. We're going to do the same with the sleeve cuffs, so we are going to fold them right sides together. To be honest, I don't think this ponte has got a right side or a wrong side. And we're going to sew along the edges there using the overlocker. So I'm just going to put a couple of pins in each of these seams. And then I'm going to take them up to the overlocker and stitch those seams. One thing that I made a total boo-boo with was the waistband. So yeah, the waistband, remember we've cut all the pieces out on the cross grain, but dependent on your fabric, if your fabric doesn't have 4-way stretch, then you're not going to, if you cut the waistband piece the same as all the others, you're not going to get it on over your hips, as I've just found when I finished the top and found that it wouldn't go over my hips. I've recut it by placing the folded waistband piece, which is this piece, on the fabric, but having it parallel to the selvage. So the selvage was on this side here. Now there's 2 pieces of waistband here, which I'm going to just join together. I've put enough of a seam allowance on both sides to join them together. And then, yeah, I'm going to reattach it to the body of the jumper so that it actually fits and I can get it on. So you're going to see the rest of this video showing you how to attach the waistband, and it might look slightly different, but that's why, because I've just refilmed this bit because the top doesn't fit. Once they're all stitched, we're then going to turn the cuffs so wrong sides are together. So we just literally match up those seams and fold the cuff over. Just going to put a little pin in there just to hold that. Okay, so that's that, and then we do the same, exactly the same with the other cuff and with the waistband piece. Next we're going to attach the cuffs, and we're going to put one on this bit there, the other bit in the corner here, and then finally we're going to do the same with the waistband. So this time you can just match up the side seam of the waistband with either of these side seams. Right, so we're now going to take this to the overlocker. There's the neckline at the top there. We're going to overlock one of the cuffs there. We're going to overlock the bottom of the waistband there, and also that cuff there. Right, so now we're just going to turn it the right way out, and then we have it. So all we're going to do now is this is where it's going to be fun to use the cover stitch. I'm going to top stitch just around the waistband here, and also around the cuffs there and there, and then we're done. Right, so I'm now going to just top stitch around the waistband and the cuffs, and as you can see there, my seam matching is really quite bad. I'm not worried about it at all. This isn't, obviously, this was just going to be a practice run anyway to get a bit more used to my cover stitch, sorry, and also, you know, I've used some very cheap Ponte that I got from Colville just to have a go at this and see what the fit was like, etc. So yeah, it's that's really bad, isn't it? But you get the idea. So I'm going to start around about the waistline, and on the front of the presser foot here, I don't know if you can see it without me just sort of coming in a bit close. Let me just see if I can zoom in a little bit more. But on the front of the presser foot there are 3 little markings. So those markings are the needle marks, where the needles obviously penetrate the fabric. So you can use those as a guide to make sure that you stay in line. So what I'm going to do is, because the 3rd needle is not in place at the minute, obviously because I'm just using the 3-thread over cover stitch. Gosh, I'm getting confused. I'm going to use the 3rd marking, which indicates the 3rd needle that's not in position, as the marking to keep it actually on the seam line. So hopefully that will be parallel, so we'll see how we get on. So when you get back round to the where you started, you're going to have some thread tails, and you need to cut these off, including the underside, which is that one there. And then you make sure that you go over your first few stitches. So again, just to finish off, raise the presser foot, bring those threads forward, cut them off, and then take the fabric behind. And there it's done. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed that video introduction to my new cover stitch machine, and yeah, I do think it's much easier to use than an overlocker, if I'm honest, but potentially, well, when I say easy to use, it's definitely easier to thread than an overlocker. But potentially I think it will take a little bit of work to get my skill level up to speed. I didn't actually show you, but I will just come in closer to the video so you can look. I did end up getting some lemon thread, and I have used my cover stitch just on here. I don't know if you can see that very well. So I just top stitched there using my cover stitch, and you won't see it very well underneath because of the overlocking, but the very pale grey is the looper. I don't know if you can see that very well, but it was very, very simple and straightforward. And yeah, I now want to make all the jersey things. So so yeah. Anyway, I am going to love you and leave you, but I hope whatever you're doing, you enjoy the rest of your week. Later on this week, I am hoping to film another vlog about my summer jumpsuit series. I have made the Joni jumpsuit by Friday Pattern Company. I did the 12 for that, and yeah, I did post it in my Instagram stories a week or so ago. I don't know if any of you saw that, and I had planned on vlogging that last week, but I was just too poorly to do it and it was far too cold. But fingers crossed, the weather is looking up for the rest of this week, so I'm hoping to film that later on this week and give you a little pattern review on that. So yeah, whatever you're doing, enjoy the rest of your week, and I'll be back with you really soon. Take care, bye.